with a star arrested and more. This is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Taking to Twitter, Mark Henry touted the recent accomplishment of his son, writing, "I am very proud of my son Jacob Todd Henry. Jacob had his first qualifier match at the National Championships and won. What I'm proud of is he suffered an injury earlier in the match and continued to fight through the pain to victory. God got the glory. Amen." Speaking on his one-of-a-kind podcast, Rob Van Dam recalled his experience with WWE agents and explained why he feels he wouldn't be a good trainer or agent. "Well, I think of the agents, and I don't mean to insult any, but just from subjective to my views being there, it was the kind of job that to me as a talent, they looked kind of like stooges. And that's because they seemed afraid for their job and wanted to make the right calls, and hoping the matches they got assigned to were the better matches of the night, which is also subjective. They wanted to make Vince McMahon happy and wanted to be on the winning side of any debate. So I don't know if I would. Outside of that, it could be a real important job. I don't think I've got the patience to be a trainer. I could tell somebody one or two times and then I said it and I'm like, dude, I told you not to do that. Why do you keep doing that? I'm done. I'm banging my head on a wall and I hurt people when I'm training them, so I don't know." When it comes to the push Austin Theory has received in WWE, Mark Henry said on Busted Open Radio, "Not only is it feeling forgettable, it's feeling like a level down title. You don't want people to associate that, oh, that's the lower title. If it's a title, you're supposed to honor it, and I don't feel like it's being honored right now. Creative were on the way to doing that, and it didn't go to the right person." On Monday Night Raw, Brock Lesnar would accept the challenge to face Cody Rhodes in a rubber match at SummerSlam, as WRKD Wrestling added. While not announced on Raw, a stipulation will be added to Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. Mentioning CM Punk during an interview with Inside the Ropes, former WWE star Paul London said, "I think Phil is another one of those guys who, is like a self-hype machine. And he's done great for himself, right? I mean, he's a huge pro wrestling star. You would think his experience in UFC would have humbled him some, but needless to say, he definitely understands the platform that he's on, and he uses it to the best of his capabilities. Not taking anything away of his stardom or his ability or his talent, he's certainly one of the best talkers in the business, and he's great at what he does." On his Legion of Raw podcast, former WWE writer Vince Russo said this about Matt Riddle when talking about his recent match against Gunther. "Riddle is believable to me. Riddle looks like an athlete to me. We know the MMA background, which they never sell. I don't mind. I mind when he has a long match with Sami Zayn. I mind when he has a long match with Kevin Owens. I don't mind when he has a long match from somebody who looks younger than him and is very athletic. He will not blow up. You could see his physique. He's very strong. The fact that he has a long match with Gunther and Gunther goes over, I don't think it hurt either one of them." Recalling her experience being backstage at AEW, Victoria said on GAW TV, "I even felt that at AEW. I went backstage to go find Sarah Stock. She goes, 'Are you going to come back here to say hi to me?' I go, can you meet me at the curtain?' I go, 'Oh no, all the new talent.' And then of course, when I went back there, I got the look like, what the F is she doing here? Excuse my language. I felt uncomfortable. Only Mark Henry, Sarah, Christopher Daniels, and just the people that we knew, even some of the people that we knew in the past, they were like, 'Are you going to watch the second show?' And I go, 'Let's go.' I felt very uncomfortable." As Ronda Rousey is reportedly set to leave WWE following SummerSlam, there have been some big changes to her storyline with Shayna Baszler, with Dave Meltzer noting on Wrestling Observer Radio, last week Shayna was the heel. This week, she's the babyface. It's like they do a thing where every week they have to switch this. At a WWE live event, Bayley could be seen lying in the ring with medical staff checking on her. She would also be seen limping out of the arena following the show. Now, Shawn Ross Sapp of Fightful has said, for those asking about an update on Bayley, here's what I've heard. As seen on social media, Bayley was icing her knee after the match, and the ref threw up the X. She left the venue limping, but without crutches. WWE sources told us they'd likely need to wait for any swelling to go down before finding out what was wrong, but that her leaving without crutches was a good sign. It was reported the other day that Nick Aldis had departed Impact Wrestling, and it looks like WWE has their eye on him. With PW Insider reporting, we have heard from sources today that Aldis' name has been discussed internally as a potential producer for the company in recent weeks. The talk today was that he may go through a trial process for that role as soon as next month. As we reported at the onset of the year, there was interest in Aldis, at the time as a wrestler, around the Royal Rumble after he exited the NWA. Aldis exited Impact Wrestling yesterday after a short-term agreement expired. His Impact run went as planned in terms of timeline, we are told. With Kevin Nash previously throwing shade at LA Knight for being a ripoff of The Rock, Nash also accused the star of never getting over until recently. Now, Nash has taken to his Click This podcast to apologize, saying, well, one thing I've got to say is, 4 or 5 years ago, man, I thought wrestling was gonna die. I was just like God, every show is bad. Then Raw started getting better. I've just never been a SmackDown guy. We didn't have SmackDown, and when I went back, I was rarely on it. I was always a Raw guy, so I just watch Raw. That's the show I watch. That's the show I watch every week. I watch NXT probably the second most of anything, and now that they're doing what they're sending Raw guys down to NXT, now it's got my interest because I'm trying to see who they're giving a rub to and that they're probably going to bring up to the main roster. Kevin Dunn has always been so far above everybody else from a production standpoint. There were a lot of people that were saying, and we talked about it, does Vince McMahon have his hands in creative and things like that? And it's like, I watched the show. I just said, am I the only one that sees like a better continuity going from match to interview? Like, it just seemed like things are clicking. If LA Knight, if the people, if he's the chosen one, if he's the people's champion, then he is the people's champion. It doesn't matter to me. If his segments do a number and that helps WWE while I'm a stockholder and it makes my buddy Paul's life easier, then get over, dude. It was just one of those things where I don't watch SmackDown. So dude, I didn't know who you were and I apologized. Some of us that are in professional wrestling actually watch sports, watch film, occasionally read a book. I do other things besides watch wrestling. There's 394 hours of wrestling on television a week. I just can't do it. Staying on the topic of Kevin Nash's previous comments about LA Knight, Shawn Michaels said this about it to WrestleBinge. No, except that Kevin Nash has always given his opinion on stuff, dare I say, so does Sportskeeda and every other website out there. You guys get opinions on lots of people. Every wrestling fan does. You're absolutely allowed to have them as Kevin's allowed to have his. We can all agree or respectfully disagree. So, I don't know that LA Knight has any problem with what Kevin Nash says or anybody else. I know him as somebody that we very much enjoyed working with here in NXT. Nobody's happier to see him thriving and doing well on the main roster more than I am. We here at NXT are very proud of all the men and women that got brought up in the draft. Obviously very excited about that. It speaks well of NXT and it speaks well of what the Performance Center has done for WWE. Recently, Ryback has called out Booker T over not wanting to interview him and has apparently called him out for a fight. Booker T responded on his Hall of Fame podcast saying, Ryback is not going to beat me up. I'm not scared. I'm not running. He wanted to challenge me to a Bellator fight. No Bellator is going to book Booker T versus Ryback fight. As far as the challenge goes, I accept Ryback's challenge to a fight. As far as if I see Ryback in public, it's on. The green light is on. So I won't get sued if we see each other and something happened to happen, then it happens. But I'm not looking for a fight or anything. You never know what you're getting into in a fight. You never know what someone is capable of. I'm always about defending myself. It appears that controversial pro wrestling star Teddy Hart has been arrested, with it said that Ringside News has obtained police records that indicate on July 14th, Teddy Hart was taken into custody in Brevard County, Florida on charges related to marijuana, steroids, and MDMA. However, on July 15th, he was released on community supervision by Judge Speecher, who has imposed certain conditions. As part of this supervision, Teddy Hart will be required to make weekly check-in calls and may also be subjected to random drug testing. For more detailed information regarding the arrest, please find the attached arrest affidavit. Teddy Hart has faced various legal troubles in the past. These include arrests and charges related to drug possession, assault, and animal cruelty. Hart's history of legal issues has been a subject of concern and controversy within the wrestling community. Teddy Hart has also been accused of abuse in the past, and some of that was related to his unconventional, and some would say inexcusable, pro wrestling training that he put some people through. He was later charged for the strangulation of Maria Manic as well. In 2020, Hart was facing charges of injuring a child, elderly, disabled person, evading arrest with a vehicle, and possession of a controlled substance. We'll have to see how long he remains behind bars at this time. Teddy Hart has spent an extensive time period in jail over the years as he keeps getting into trouble. We can only hope that Teddy Hart can fix things and get back to the right mindset right now. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.